Hello YouTube, welcome to howtomakecandles.info. In this video, we will tackle a subject that can be confusing for beginners and is also the most read article on the website. I'm talking about the priming of candle wicks. I will explain in details what it actually means to prime a wick, why you should always do it, when, and of course, how exactly to prime a wick. As a side note, if you like this content, please give this video a like and consider subscribing. It really helps my channel grow and allows me to create more candle making videos. Thank you. Let's start with what priming a wick really is. Priming a wick is not a complicated or esoteric process. It basically means that you dip the wick in liquid paraffin or vegetable wax for a couple of minutes to replace the air trapped inside the cotton threads with wax. And that leads us to the next question: why in the world would you do that? But to really understand why a wick should be primed, you need to know how a candle works. In a burning candle, liquid paraffin is drawn by the wick from the melt pool towards the flame, where it is vaporized and used as a fuel to sustain the flame. When you light a new candle, there is no melt pool and nothing to use as a fuel, so the only thing the wick can burn is its own cotton threads. So the wick needs to be self-sufficient until enough heat is generated to create a tiny melt pool that will start the chemical reaction. Based on that, the best way to explain why you should always prime a wick is to show you. Here are two wicks of the same type, the flat braid type, and same length. The wick on the left hand side has not been primed, the one on the right hand side has been primed in paraffin wax. Let's light the unprimed wick. The flame is tiny and almost no heat is generated. The wick is basically burning itself to ashes. It's not strong enough to melt wax at the top of the candle and just dies out. Now let's light the primed wick. As you can see, the flame is much stronger because there is fuel readily available inside the wick itself. This gives the wick something else than itself to burn and allows for enough heat to start creating a melt pool at the top of the candle and get a chain reaction going. If you don't prime your wick and the flame goes out when you first light the candle, the only thing you can do to save the candle is carve away some wax around the wick and try again. This will work because the portion of the wick that is trapped inside the candle is automatically primed during the pouring process. And this is why you should always prime your wicks. So when should you prime a wick? Well, the answer to that is pretty straightforward. Whenever it hasn't been primed already. How do you know if a wick has been primed? If it's soft and fluffy, it's a sign it hasn't been primed yet. On the contrary, if it's rigid, you can be sure it has either been primed or coated at the factory. Wicks of the series HTP, Stabilo, Eco, RRD, TCR, VRL, TG, V and many others have been primed during the fabrication process. LX wicks have even received a full wax coating. In this case, you don't need to and you should not prime them again. As I said earlier, there's nothing complicated about priming a wick. If you're making a pillar candle, all you have to do is dip the wick in the melted paraffin wax or soy wax for a couple of minutes. So just plunge it in the wax. You can see air bubbles coming to the surface, which is a sign that the air inside the cotton threads is being replaced by wax. Leave it there for a while, then fish it out and lay it flat on a sheet of waxed paper. Pull on both hands to straighten it and give it 5 minutes to harden. If you're a perfectionist, you can make sure that your wicks are perfectly straight by using 2 crocodile clips with a string attached and some weight on the other end. When you remove the wick from the liquid wax, catch each end of the wick in a crocodile clip, lay the wick flat with the weight on each side of the table, and let the wick harden that way. Perfectly straight wick every single time, just trim the ends. And that's all there is to it. 3 more things though. First, never prime a wick in a container wax blend. It's too thick, it won't work well and it will make a big mess. Use straight paraffin wax or a pillow soy blend. If you're making container candles, you will probably be using a specialty wick anyway. Second, no one said your wicks have to be white. You can prime them in colored wax and have blue, red, green, black wicks. I keep small amounts of heavily colored wax in tuna fish cans just for that purpose. If you want to do so, use liquid dye only and expect at best pastel colors. Don't overdo it on the dye, or you might clog the wick and prevent it from burning properly. And the last point, you don't have to prime wicks as you go. You can build yourself a small supply of ready-to-use primed wicks by keeping some wax to that effect in small aluminum trays, the takeaway style. When you need wicks primed, just pop the tray in your double boiler, melt the wax, prime your wicks, let the wax cool off and put the tray away covered and labeled. I have one with paraffin wax and one with soy wax. That's it. I hope the concept of wick priming has no secrets for you anymore. If you have any question, post it in the comments or drop me a line on the website. Thank you for watching and see you soon.